Ciao, ciao. Good evening. Buonasera to all of you. We are basically 2 hours away from the kickoff of Spurs versus Roma. And with me, I have a very special guest on this show. I have Joseph George. And, sir, I was on the Calcio Charcha stream. And when I said your name, people thought, Jose Mourinho was coming onto the stream. But I hope he's watching us, having, that history with both Spurs and Roma. I hope that Jose tunes in. But welcome to the show, sir. How have you been? And if you can just give an intro to everyone who's there.
Yeah, thank you, Ajay. Thank you. First time I'm getting a welcome of Mourinho. Usually it's Guardiola that is going. Maybe I try to change my look to get away from that. So yeah, it's a nice evening. Good man. Good to talk football and especially Roma Spurs.
It's a very,
Nice.
very, very interesting game. So before we, get to the game, we will get to the predicted lineup. So in fact, hopefully we'll have the confirmed lineups and the predictions and all of that. I want to start, with your journey, asking about your journey, sir. So if you could just tell the audience about, what you've been doing in sport. That's number one, and number two, how you started supporting Tottenham Hotspur.
Okay. Yeah. So I was passionate about sports from childhood. Used to play football and cricket, more football than cricket. Being down from the down south Kerala, one place
Yes,
where football is adored more than any other
cricket,
sport.
any other sport. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
yeah. So yeah, I used to play as a winger, and now over the years become a goalkeeper. So that's one part. The other part is I was working in an Infosys, an IT company for a few years. But every day I was looking forward to the evenings where I can play football and manage the sports facilities over there. So after a few years, I realized, okay, maybe I want to do something which is invest in sport, work on sport, sporting leagues and all. So that's how why I quit back in 2013, and then in 2014, when ISL started, I be joined as a first statistician of ISL, and the next year when the kabaddi, I'm the first statistician in there as well. So in the last 10 years, I'm working across sports. Started with Sports Interactive and Star Sports, then Sony Sports, and then now later Viacom 18 Geo Cinema handled the football aspect of that and the languages for some time. Now I'm a freelancer, freelance sports broadcaster, working in ISL. That's about me. So uh,
And how did you start supporting Tottenham? Your first memory? I mean, this is a very standard thing, especially if you support a team in the Premier League. You look at the Man United's, Liverpool's, and if you're in London, you would obviously you have Arsenal, who are your great rivals. Chelsea
mhm.
emerged, in the early 2000s. So, what made you choose Tottenham as your club?
Back in the day, like say 2005 6, was the time when I started supporting Tottenham, or I enjoyed the playing style, the game that they play. The main reason being Robbie Keane and Divita Babato, two unselfish strikers setting up each other. That's what caught my attention the most. When like you have seeing strikers who are like even with a remote chance trying to hit a shot, there are these two guys who are like setting up each other for fun.
Hmm.
So, but okay, I found that game interesting. That was enjoyable. Not always the results, but the way they played, the football was enjoyable. And like when I started supporting Spurs, we had Defoe and Pavlyuchenko and all those guys. So we had at some point there were four really good strikers fighting for a sport, but like that was not visible on the pitch. They were supporting each other, setting up each other, and that's how I started supporting Spurs.
Since we are talking about European competition across the years, which has been that one moment or a few games where Tottenham have, really, I mean, your fondest memory about Tottenham in Europe?
Multiple memories. The most disappointing one is the 2019 Champions League final.
Yep.
Yeah, the there was another loss, but that was enjoyed by all the Spurs fans that time. Back in the 2010-11 at Italy,
Inter. Yeah,
the
Inter
the San Siro
Spurs.
one, where
Yeah.
no one remembers whether Spurs won or lost. There was this
Yeah.
young Gareth Bale running down the
Yeah.
flanks.
Yeah.
killing Macon, or like Macon was not able to uh,
Yeah.
catch up with him at that day. On that day, he was beating him inside out, going down the flank, running inside and taking a shot, setting up. Whatever he was doing, Maicon was the world's best right back at that time. Okay, not
Hmm.
someone who was past his prime or something like that. That
True.
was the game, which is more was enjoyable, memorable. Then also under Pochettino, the manager that we all love so much. That's another game where Harry Wings ruled the midfield, and we won 3-1. With when on the other side you have the Luka Modric, the Tony Cruz, and all. A young
Yeah.
Harry Wings bossing the midfield was a sight to watch. So these are the three games on top of my head right now as we speak.
So, what do you make of since you mentioned Luka Modric, Gareth Bale? As a Spurs fan, have you been happy that they moved to Madrid and they achieved what they did? What are your thoughts?
Hmm, in a way, it's good for the players. They were able to achieve success. So when I started supporting the team, like back in those days, like we saw the likes of Robbie Keane, Dimitar Berbatov moving across to the rivals, to the Premier League rivals, and like that was not that much enjoyable, to be honest. Like then your players are leaving, and your opponents are getting strengthened more.
Yeah.
So then Daniel Levy took a stand that okay, we are not going to sell to the rivals, even though for Modric, the higher bid was from Chelsea, but he said no, I'm not going to sell it to a London rival or a Premier League rival. The same happened with Bale also. So in a way, he kept some of the club's interest, and like we all have to admit, it's a sport is also a business, and then
Yeah.
uh, even if you like it or not, every player has a value. Unless the player wants to stay and he's saying, okay, I am rejecting all these bids, the club can't do it beyond a point. So even the successful clubs who are winning trophies, who are winning multiple things, they are also not able to keep hold of each and every player. So this will happen eventually. It will happen. It's good that some people got success, especially Modric and Bale. So I
Uh,
accepted
in,
that. Accepted
in the
defeat in
same
that.
in the same breath, what about Harry Keane moving on to Bayern Munich last year? As a
Mm,
Spurs fan, did it hurt you a lot that such an iconic player, the club captain,
yeah.
moving on?
Say the way he moved. Okay, he waited for a few years to win the trophies. It was his responsibility also to win us trophies.
Of
He
course.
was the focal point. He was the leader of the team after Hugo Lloris, and then in a way, as a collective unit, he also failed. He also didn't do his duty. So didn't feel happy that he moved to Bayern. If it was to a Real or a Barca, you could have understood. Okay, he went to want to win trophies and he couldn't achieve that also there. So maybe
Right.
it didn't work out for him, and it didn't work out for the Spurs fans also. So that hurt more than the Bale and Modric transfers, to be honest, because in this era, at this stage, Spurs team was much better. Our defense was not as leaky as it used to be earlier. At certain point, we had better defenders, better team, better structure, organization, and the best stadium, the best training facilities in England. All those things are there. So it's not that like you are practicing in substandard facilities. You are living
Yeah.
in those day to day. Have the best facilities in the world. Then why do you want to move?
True. 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 And
So
to be honest, everyone thought that Kane would win the Bundesliga last year, but you know how it went. And forget the Bundesliga, even the DFB Pokal, at least some silverware, but it did not happen. But you never
yeah.
know. I mean, this year could be finally the year where he achieves his professional dream of winning a trophy. But moving on from Harry Kane, sir, I just you know comparing the some eras of Spurs. Now you had a Martin Yol era where you won the League Cup. Then you had the Harry Redknapp era where you guys were good in Europe, and then of course the modern era, the Pochettino. And I want you to speak on the three eras eventually leading up to the Pochettino era and that title race with Leicester. So I want your
Yeah.
thoughts on that.
All right. So yeah, Martin Yolera is where I started watching Spurs and supporting Spurs. The Jonathan would get header that led us to the Carabao Cup or Carling Cup, as it was called
Yeah,
that time.
as it
The
was
win.
called back then.
Yeah. So some fond memories there. We were not expected to win any titles or any trophies at that time. To be honest, it was all about enjoying the game and the way they play. It was a good vibe about Spurs, even though there is a Spursiness about it. But like it was always good vibe. And then Harry Redknapp tried to build a Spurs, and there was this free-flowing attack built on the midfield. You had the likes of Modric and Huddleston, and underrated England midfielder Huddleston who could play with both his feet stitching together. He can find a pass from anywhere, out of nowhere. He can find a 60-yard pass also, and also the shorter ones. Modric being the nimble-footed playmaker. These two used to play as a pivot, not as defensive minded. Both are more of passers and attack minded. And ahead of them, we had Lennon, Van der Vaart, and Bale. Lennon and Bale, extra space down the flanks. You can't
Right.
catch hold of. And these two are just pinging balls across the floor. And
Yep.
Huddleston, you can see even the defense, he will just put a ball blindly. No one can catch it apart from Bale and Lennon. And that will be exactly landing on their feet. So that
Yep.
kind of precision is what I found very rare in a player, and that was Huddleston. And whenever we needed a defensive player, we had Palacios there as a backup to either of
Yep.
them. Palacios, the Honduras midfielder.
Yep.
And up front, we had rotating between Defoe and Pavlyuchenko. It was mostly that time. Pavlyuchenko was the super sub. Uh, so I wish either Keane or Babato were there at that time. Maybe they were past their prime. Or those moves didn't work out. But
Right.
it was there were some fond memories, very good memories. The Inter Milan, the AC Milan games, in that those Champions League runs. So we came back to Champions League thanks to Hari Ratna.
Yep.
From a mid-table club, the base was established that okay, these guys can play in Europe. European contenders. We were qualifying regularly for the European competitions. It started under Ratna. So the base was set. He did his job. Then came Mauricio Pochettino, where like from a mid-table team we became a regular Champions League contenders, the top four, or as nowadays it is called the Big Six. So Pochettino, nothing to say. Hats off. The work he did, he didn't carry any baggage. He was very
Yep.
ruthless. The first few seasons itself, even though we had legends in the team who were like there over the years, if you are not ready to track back, if you are not ready to press high, you are not part of the team. Whether you are
Hmm.
a Michael Dawson, whoever you are. Then came the Eunice Kabuls of the world, or the
Hmm.
uh, players who could play according to Pochettino style.
Yeah.
Then we got better fullbacks, better players. So he developed the youngsters. Say Dele Alli became Dele Alli a household name under Pochettino, and after Pochettino, there were multiple issues, multiple reasons for that. But like we are not seeing Dele Alli now. He was once Levy rejected 100 million bid for him.
Yep.
So, so that kind of a player he became. Even Harry Winks is now playing for Leicester.
Yeah.
Modric and Kroos couldn't choke him at that time. They were
Yep.
he was simply running circles around them like his was simply sensational. So the kind of work Pochettino did, he trusted the youngsters, gave them the license, the freedom, uh, and the tactics. Mostly people will say he did not have plan B, but his plan B was that good. Plan A, no one could counter. So why do you need a plan B when you have a strong plan A?
That is working. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Pochettino stuck to his methods. Even when he went to PSG where he had Messi and Neymar, he didn't change his methods. He was
Yeah.
like he made Messi sit on the bench.
Hmm.
So like he was a man of his principles, and he brilliant coach.
Yep.
Tactically,
Yep.
he did wonders. And you mentioned about the title race, which wasn't there. Okay,
Which wasn't there. Yeah. Yeah. That's a
yeah,
misconception that I want you to clear.
okay. So that conception was built by the narrative, the media, like how Arsenal won the promotion to the Premier League.
Yeah.
No one knows how Arsenal got into the Premier League, right? They bought
You're
their
talking
way
about
into the
90,
finishing
the
six.
90s?
Yeah. They were sixth in the second division and they bought their
Ah,
way. No one knows that. So, like that, that's how when the rivalry between Spurs and Arsenal also started. So,
yeah,
it is in a similar way, Arsenal was leading the table. The 2015-16 season where Leicester won, Arsenal were the league leaders in December, the new year. They bottled it very badly. They slipped up to that point that Leicester had a handsome lead and Arsenal couldn't catch up with them. The only team which was like 7 points behind was Spurs. They were second. Like Spurs were never leading that race only. They were second. They were like playing well. Pochettino was getting the best out of this team. Neither Leicester nor Spurs were featuring in any of the top four predictions before the season. It was
right.
Arsenal who were supposed to win. They were the favorite there. You had City, you had United, Liverpool, all those teams. Maybe not Liverpool, not that, but Chelsea was a better contender. So,
Hmm.
and then Arsenal was leading comfortably. All of a sudden, they slipped up. Leicester took over. They had amazing results. Week in, week out, they were producing that magic. It went on. And then this battle of the bridges where like media hyped it up to the next level.
Yeah,
Even if
yeah,
we had won that game, even if we had beaten Chelsea at that game, still there were 7 points to catch up.
right,
That time also it was 7 points. So the reason when we lost, okay, we couldn't catch up because in 9 points is possible only from 3 games. So technically the gap became that wide that you can't catch up anymore.
right,
So
right.
and everyone made full use of that, saying Spurs couldn't catch up, and it was Leicester dream season. It was Leicester dream season, and it was the worst season for Arsenal. They won't admit it. They have been slipping up for quite some time now. It was their
Any
season to win.
Arsenal fans in the chat, I want you to respond to this for sure. But sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, you can look at the table in December or January or whatever time, and if you need a screenshot, I can share that. You slipped up, you bottled it, man.
Fair enough, sir. So it's safe to say that Pochettino is, your favorite coach. But if you had to pick your favorite Spurs player of all time, for you, it can be someone from the past, present.
Many, if I have to pick one, very difficult. If this question came before Harry Kane moved, it would have been easy.
Yeah,
Yeah. So now it goes back to Gareth Bale. At least uh, he did what he can, and he came back to help us also.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
He did.
so obviously Gareth Bale, we haven't seen that kind of a player. A left back becoming a world beater. That rule at
True,
Spurs. So it's how you mold the player, seeing the talent, and then like developing
true,
them further across what is suited and
true.
how it goes off. So that was brilliant.
Fair. I'm going to take some questions before we move on. The first question is from Rio, a young player from Spurs who we should look out for, especially in the future.
Mikey Moore, Mikey Moore, the winger, young winger, has been playing really well. Uh, he got an injury, unfortunately. I don't think he'll be playing tonight or for a few games. He has been really good. So can play both. To be honest, I had high expectations on Troy Parrott few years back.
Hmm. He's in the Dutch league now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, disappointed. So these youngsters, it's all about the game time. How do you manage, and how they develop further. Enough game time is required. Competitive matches are required. Some players develop better by going out on loan. Some don't get chances, won't do anything. Like say Harry Kane, he went on multiple loans and like didn't score much.
Yeah,
Even at Leicester, he went on Norwich. He couldn't do much. The moment he it was one game against Chelsea, thanks to Chelsea, we got Harry Kane that he scored 2 goals, and all of a sudden he got that confidence in him. So, like that kind of a moment is required for young players. So
right,
that can make or break their career.
right, right. Rio has a soft spot for Spurs in England. He's happy if they win some trophies. He's a Bayern fan, so he's a Dortmund fan. I'm sorry. So, he obviously he wants Spurs to re-sign Harry Kane. But yeah, Ravi's comment is here that you look like Pep, but I don't think so. You got any marks Like
This
Pep,
will
but
make it even closer, right?
yeah, but you don't have the marks anymore now.
Yeah. After a few years, I'll get it, I think.
But guys, keep your comments coming in, and ask questions to Joseph sir, and we'll move on to the present era, and which obviously has got one of the most likable managers, you can say, in Ange
Hmm.
Postecoglou.
Yeah.
What have you made of his term, and last season, and of course this season? Firstly, he had to lose Harry Kane right in the start of the season, and
Mhm.
from there on, what has been his impact at the club?
Really like him, to be honest. Like, I didn't like the previous two managers, even though they were legends at other clubs,
Yep.
and the style of football didn't suit Spurs. So, for someone like Ange to come in and then to change the way they play, he was not afraid of losing anyone. So, as a manager, if you are confident about your tactics, your methods, then you can work with the youngsters also the same magic, because your method, your strategy, your tactics, everything is clear. You know the role of each and everyone. If one player is not available, he will get someone else to do that role. We haven't seen Hyung Min Son playing as a striker before, right? We
Yep.
saw him mostly down the flanks. The moment Harry came, he became the striker. When he got one full season with Son and Richarlison as a strikers, and Richarlison was not scoring goals like he used to score for Brazil. So
Yep.
he know how to adapt. He know how to get goals everywhere. That's the only thing he knows is what the critics will say. uh, like I said, I love the way Tottenham play. So his philosophy goes with what I prefer and what I love to watch, and that has been sensational. Even though we lost against Chelsea with 9 men last season, last season, yeah, I enjoyed that game. You lost your pacious defender to an injury. You got a red card. You got another red card. You are still defending from the center line with 9 men. Okay, it was a bit naive. Okay, but he knew his tactics. He believed in his tactics. He believed in his philosophy. He went on an attacking mode. That game was up for the taking. It could have been 2-2. It could have been till the 90th minute with 9 men. Spurs were going for the kill. And he didn't had any fast defenders. The slowest
Yep.
defenders in the ranks were playing those center line, half lane block. You see the moment some team gets a red card, you are seeing that okay, they are going back to a deep block. He's not doing that. He's not afraid of his tactics, his strategy. He's sure that okay, whatever happens, I want us to win in this way. I remember one of the earliest press conference when he said the team won 1-0, but he said I'm not happy with the performance. After 1-0, you are ingrained in that Mourinho philosophy, the Conte philosophy that okay, those
Yep.
players were like, okay, we'll
Park the
take
bus.
this. Yeah. And Ansto thrashed them in the dressing room back. And like, next time if you do that, you're not playing for me anymore. So that message was clear. Then now, even if you see, like, not every game he will get the result.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you will get the results like how we beat Man City. We beat Man
Oof.
City at their own game.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
not a fluke win. Those intricate passes were better than what City used to do.
Yeah.
Kulisevsky looked like the best player in the world that
Yeah.
game.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's a coach's brilliance. He knows how to get the best out of these players. Like having followed Syria or worked for Syria at Sony, I remember how Kulisevsky used to play at Parma
Yeah.
on loan, or Atlanta on.
Yeah.
This was far far better.
Yeah.
As a UA player, he didn't get his chances. Still, like the earlier we were mentioning that okay, it's that moment that might change the player.
Correct.
So it's those kind of things, those kind of moves that one player gets. Right now, I feel he's in the best form, especially after the last game. He's not still delivering consistent results in and out of the team. Don't know his best position, whether he's a number 10, whether he's a inverted winger. But see, the coach know what he needs from him.
Hmm.
Sometimes we are playing with three midfielders, and two of them are Madison and Kulisevsky, who are not
Yeah.
defensive minded at all.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that's a philosophy, and I think that is very clear.
right. No, as a Roma fan, I'm definitely scared of Kulusevski, as well as Madison, as well as Destiny Udogie, because Destiny Udogie,
Yeah,
his Udinese team beat
Udinese
Mourinho's
team was,
Roma, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
by by
brilliant.
by four goals to nil. So that has happened. I'm just going to
Hmm.
pull up the we haven't got any confirmation on the lineup, but this is the
Hmm.
probable formation.
Yeah,
So it looks like Spurs will start with Foster in goal because obviously Vicario is injured.
injured. Yeah,
Uh,
huge.
Pedro Porro, Dragushin, Davies, Udoji, Sar, Bisuma, Madison, Kulusevski, Solanke as the focal point, the center forward, and Youngmin Song on the left. What do you
Hmm.
make of this lineup, sir? Is this? I mean, this looks on paper like a very strong Spurs team.
Yeah, this was. I don't think this will be the lineup once hold. This
Okay.
is the strongest available team for Premier League. So as Bentancur is serving a Premier League suspension for 7 matches and he can play in Europe, he will definitely
Yeah.
start. Uh, and maybe Bisuma will get the rest because he will have to play every game.
Yeah.
Then likewise with the fullbacks, we don't have options in centre back like right now because Dragusin and Davis are anyway backup options to Romero and Van de Ven. And Pedro Poro and Udoji, maybe Dutch Spence and Archie Gray will come in.
Okay.
And
So
yeah,
Archie Gray will come in as right back.
yeah, he can play both. He can play across the difference. I think he will play left back, and
Okay.
Spence will play as a right back.
Okay.
This is my prediction. Okay, the moment you see the lineup, might go for a toss, and then
Right.
ahead, Werner will get a start finally. I feel the way
Okay.
he burnt Kyle Walker the weekend, even though it was a cameo, so he will get a chance. So I feel Son will get the rest because he finished the international break, traveled to Asia, played a couple of matches.
Played
So Son
City
will come
over
on
the
as,
weekend.
yeah, yeah, he needs rest. So then maybe it will be a heavily rotated lineup is what I feel.
Okay. Okay. For Roma's point, this is what has been coming out from the press as
Mhm.
well. El Sharawi is starting for sure,
Wow.
and you will have. So this is again, I would say this is not the correct lineup. Let me see if I can pull out something which is more accurate. But
Hmm.
El Sharawi is going to start. Zeki Celik is going to start. It's going to be a back three of Hummels, Endika, and Mancini,
Hmm.
followed by wing backs El Sharawi and Zeki Celik, Kone Cristante, Pisili in midfield, and Dybala Dobic up top. So that is what the predicted lineup looks like. Dybala Dobic starting together up top, and Pellegrini drops to the bench, and El Sharawi starts as a defensive cover instead of Angelino, because
Oh.
Angelino made a mistake over the weekend. If you watched Napoli Roma, so it was
Hmm.
Angelino's error that Di Lorenzo took full advantage of, and he assisted Lukaku to score. But under Ranieri, this is Ranieri's second game
Yeah.
in his third spell in charge, and the primary goal has been to kind of arrest this the downward spiral that Roma have been in this season. And you saw that against Napoli, that they were a little more defensively solid, absorbing a lot of Napoli pressure away game. And
Hmm.
Ranieri has got a very tough start because an away game to Napoli was his first test, away game to Spurs, and a home game to Atlanta, who play on a
Wow.
different level compared to other Serie A teams. So
Hmm.
he's got his work cut out. But this looks likely the shape. I would say with a back
Hmm.
three and not a back four per se. And I think this is what you were mentioning about Spurs. This is more accurate towards Spurs than Roma, with the likes of Timo Werner, Brendan Johnson,
Yeah.
Dominic Solanke, Bentancur, all
Yes.
playing a part.
Hmm.
What kind of
Yeah.
game are you expecting, sir, between Spurs and Roma?
So Rainieri being the Tinkerman can pull a rabbit out of the hat anytime. So don't expect any freebies with Rainieri in there. So he'll definitely make those changes. I like Dobik. Last season he was wonderful for Girona. And obviously Dybala, we all know what he can pull off. So Dybala and Dobik, but Dobik needs those balls, quick
Yeah,
balls.
yeah,
Dybala takes a couple of touches extra sometimes.
yeah.
So that sync, if it's not there, it's good for Spurs. If it is there, it's good for Roma. So that is there, and then like Selic down the right is a good option, and Timo Werner, despite the way he played for Leipzig back in maybe 10 years back or like 7 8 years back at least,
Right.
before he moved to Chelsea, he was a different beast. He was playing wonderfully well. Now I don't see the same Werner. When the last week we saw a glimpse of what he can do with
Yeah.
Brennan Johnson. Uh, so that's a battle I think Selick is going to win.
So
Unfor-
you're very optimistic because you ask any Roma fan and Zeki Chelik sometimes can do some errors where I feel that we can bring him to play in Mumbai in the MDFA. He makes that kind of silly errors.
Huh. See, the reason why I feel he is we going to win is I haven't seen Werner finishing.
Hmm.
So even if he makes an error, you need someone to capitalize on that, right?
That's true. That is true. That's true.
Yeah. So, but yeah, but if it is like those that Werner in Leipzig, then definitely any day he's going to burn him. But right now, at present, I feel Silic and Manzini is a very good centre back. I forgot the one who left to Saudi, the his partner.
You mean Manolas?
Yeah, no, there was one more defender.
Yeah, Smalling, Chris Smalling.
No, no, the Brazilian,
Ibanez, Roger
Roger
Ibanez.
Ibanez. Yes, yeah. Mancini Ibanez partnership was good at some time.
Yeah, yeah. It
But
was quite
obviously,
decent to be honest.
yeah, yeah. So now Indica, okay, I don't think it is that good. So yeah, there will be goals, no doubt about that. There will be plenty of goals in any game, and especially with these two managers, we can expect plenty of goals. The midfield will be slightly dominated by Spurs if they even if they play the youngsters. There is a fluid passing game,
Hmm.
so and they can make create spaces, open spaces, and then find ways to score goals.
So I think all the stats will be in Spurs' favor. Ball possession, number of shots,
Mm.
distance covered, XG. Any stat will be in Spurs' favor because that's how Ranieri is going to set up today. Because
Yeah. So the most important stat right at the top should be in Spurs' favor.
yeah,
All
yeah,
others can be in anyone's favor, like any City game.
that's true. That is true. That is true.
Yeah,
So with
any
that,
other
what
stat
is your
that
with
is
that
difficult.
what is your prediction, sir? You can start with the predictions also.
Mm, I'm going for an entertaining 3-2 win
Wow, wow.
for
Uh,
Spurs.
Look, I would love to say if I believe Roma could come out with anything from this game, but if this is the lineup, then I think Roma can manage a draw. But if the likes of Kulusevski, Son,
Hmm.
they all start, and it's going to be difficult. Like my heart obviously says that Roma can pull up an upset because obviously Spurs started favorites, but my analytical brain will always say that I don't think so. This is the game where you will see I hope we see an improvement.
Hmm.
After Ranieri has come in, I just hope that the players play for the shirt and pride. But it's a very difficult venue. Roma struggle traditionally in the UK, and these kind of European nights, especially what has transpired through the start of the season, it's a very difficult ask. I just hope my heart says that the players will show up and manage to get something from here, but my brain unfortunately goes for a Spurs win. That is my prediction.
Hmm.
We'll take a few comments, and guys, you can also leave your predictions here before we close the stream. There are some questions for you, sir. um, this is something which probably is a very you must have answered this question a million times.
They just need to believe in themselves, especially in the big games. Don't change.
Spurs
See,
Spurs' motto is to believe is to do, right? If I'm
yeah,
not
to dare is
mistaken.
to do.
To dare is to do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, Amal, that is what they need to do. They need to dare. They're always daring.
right,
Even in the cup competitions, if you see a pattern, even in the Premier League, Spurs are not afraid of the big teams. They play. Sometimes they lose. Most of the times they win. Uh, when in the cup games, they are mostly knocked out by uh, a mid-table team, or when they are rotating, it happens like that, or an erstwhile mid-table team in Chelsea, which is mostly knocking us out because of all the reasons. So you don't need to play against Chelsea right now. I think even Chelsea is going through a similar phase, so it won't be that bad. Sooner, right now, with Solanke in, we have a focal point in attack. After a season, Postecoglou has replaced Harry Kane.
yeah. It's taken 1 year to replace
Yeah,
Harry Kane.
it's taken 1 year. Like say when similar things happened with Pochettino era, he
Hmm.
wanted only the right players that fitted his system. There was a transfer window; he didn't sign a single player. At that time, like say he said, either this player or no one. So like that,
Right.
you buy players who which is needed in the system, and then eventually it will happen. It is going to happen soon. If you continue playing like this, then it's not a difficult task.
Fair. Fair. Is Spurs, are Spurs the Robin Hood of the Premier League?
Not really. Say for most of the teams, we do a favor.
So Doctor Tottenham is a thing, right? So Doctor
Yeah.
Tottenham, can Doctor Tottenham cure the Roma curse? Because this is basically, and the quintessential saying, the there is a unstoppable force, immovable object. They clash together. So this is basically Doctor Tottenham clashing with Roma, who are in Hindi we say we are Shrapit. It's a
Uh,
Shrapit club. We've got this curse. So what is going to move? I mean, what's going to break? Is it Doctor
mm.
Tottenham or the curse club? We'll
The
find out
Curse Club,
tonight.
I think like at least in Roma, you had that time with your De Rossi's, the Tottis of the
Of course,
world.
of course, of course, of course.
So I was surprised and shocked when De Rossi was sacked. The how the club has handled the recent past.
Thinking about it, I will open a bottle and start drinking on air, because it's been manic. But another question for you: would you say that Ange struggles to adjust when it comes to in-game management?
Mm, yeah, I think that is because he believes in his philosophy too much. Uh, Say for 99% of the people would have adopted defensive strategies when you're down to nine. He won't. So his in-game management is also, he believes that this is the way you have to play and win the game. So I think it is he's sticking to his philosophies, and fair play to him.
Fair,
I'll back
fair.
him for that. If you believe that, say not every result, even Pep with all the money spent with all the team, he can't get every result in his favor. It won't work all the time. So
Right.
a manager has to back his methods, back his philosophy, and then only the time will tell whether he's successful. He has been successful elsewhere. So
Yeah.
someone from Australia to manage a Premier League club,
Yeah. It's
it's not done
difficult. Like,
easily.
people underestimate, like, Australia winning the AFC Cup is a
Yeah.
great achievement, because the likes of Japan, South Korea, Iran,
Mm.
Saudi, who traditionally dominate, even though Australia, are not technically part of Asia per se, but it's
Yeah.
still a mean task. And look at Australia right now; they are struggling
Yes.
in the
Yes.
qualifiers. You know, is Ragusan leaving, sir?
No. Don't want him to leave. Definitely, a
Fair.
player needs starting minutes. He wants to start regularly. And with Romero and Mickey Van de Ven, you don't see Dragusan playing regularly unless one of them is not available. Unless you have a manager like a Mourinho or a Conde who is going to play with all the defensive players. It's not going to happen with Ainge.
Yeah.
Uh, Postecoglou has made it clear, but like Dragusin was happy. He uh, came for this role only. He knew he had to displace one of them. He's still trying to do that. So he'll fight. And
Fair.
like, this itself was a huge step for him, and it was an investment by Postecoglou that okay, this youngster has potential. He's going to do well. He's still error prone. He's still developing, and say this agent, the duty of the agent is to get the best out of for his player. He'll do that. He has to
Yeah.
do it. Otherwise, he will be sacked.
Fair. Fair. But the lineups are out, by the way. I'm going to pull them up in a minute.
Yeah.
The official lineups are out for Spurs versus Roma.
Mhm.
Chelik is a good option. See, with Chelik, that's the thing. He does he does like some things which are really good, and then he makes a very rookie error.
Hmm.
So, which is why, for me, honestly, he's a liability. But Ayush has a question. What is your favorite memory as a Roma supporter? I would say Diego Perotti scoring, late goal, 3-2 in
Mhm.
the last game of Francesco Totti, and I would obviously say that because I was also there, so that is a great memory for me. Um, so I'll just pull up the lineup. I have the Roma lineup, which is
Mhm.
pulled up. This is how Roma line up today. So it is a back three, like I mentioned. So it is
Mhm.
a back three that sees Endika, Hummels, and Mancini in the back three. Zeki Celik and Angelino as the wing backs.
Good.
Paredes starting for Roma. So Paredes has been out of favor for a very long time, but he makes his
Mhm.
start. It is generally you see Cristante and Manu Kone. Manu Kone
Mhm.
maintains his place, and you have Dybala, Dobic, and El Sharawi as well. But El Sharawi, I believe, will be slightly more defensive
Mhm.
with his contribution, but he will be like that linchpin between defense and attack on the left hand side, because that's where the action will happen. If Roma have to create anything, it's going to happen between Manu Kone, Angelino in that
Mhm.
combination, and up top you have Dybala, Dobic, and El Sharabi just feeding off over there. So I feel that's how, if Roma can do anything in this game, that's where it's going to come from.
Yeah, it's a like very decent lineup. Very, it's a strong lineup, and like yeah, Ranieri won't stop at that. So he will do that kind of lineup. Only it's looking very
So
strong. Okay, the
this
lineup.
is this is the Spurs lineup. You have Foster, Gray, Dragoshin Davies, Pedro Porro. So no Destiny Udogi,
Okay.
Bentancur, Sar, Kulusevski, Brennan Johnson, Solanke, and Son.
Oh, both the teams are going with
Yeah,
uh, almost almost full strength lineup or like whatever
yeah,
is from the available lineup they have gone all out.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Definitely, Foster is untested this year. He hasn't got playing time due to Vicario being Vicario.
Right,
That injury
right,
right now he needs to step up. There is no other option. Okay, Gray is playing as a left back because Pora will play as a right back.
right back. Yeah,
Yeah, he can play both. In fact, even Gray also can play both because but Pedro Poro down the right is a very good option. So then
right.
you have Sar who was having a wonderful season. Again, another youngster developed by Postecoglou. Like how Pochettino got the best out of Dele Alli,
Yeah,
Sar has been phenomenal for Postecoglou. Like you don't expect him to do that much in a game. He keeps on running, keeps on running. He's not a flashy player. He
yeah,
is not that skillful that you expect him to be dominating Premier League. But he does whatever is being asked upon. If you give him a task, he will do that. He'll
yeah,
try. He won't leave your player. He won't mark. He will keep on running all 90 minutes, and he will be like silently sneaking at the far post for most of the counter attacks, and you'll give a goal. Even the slow build-ups, you never know where he's coming up, and mostly all the attacks he will be in the box, edge of the box, in a goal scoring position. So the surprise goal scorer will be Sar today. You are
yeah. You never know.
busy.
So
You
Kulusevski
are
joins him in midfield, if I'm not mistaken, because
yeah, yeah.
Brennan
So this
Johnson
is
and Son.
yeah, this is what he Postecoglou does. He plays Bentancur, Kulusevski, and Madison most of the times.
Yeah,
So the most defensive player among the three is Bentancur. That says a lot.
yeah, yeah.
So
Fair,
here it's
fair.
a similar story. Sar, he doesn't want to take any chance. So yeah, it's a
Yep,
strong
yep.
lineup. I was
Yeah.
expecting Son to be on the bench, but like yeah, he was taken off against City at also around the hour mark. So he got some rest, and I think similarly he will be taken off today also.
That's
He won't play
as,
90.
as a Roma fan, I would take that as a mark of respect that Son was subbed at the hour mark against Man City to preserve his legs for Roma. So that that says a lot. But in all honesty, you have a comparison to Vincenzo Italiano, the
Oh.
Bologna coach, former Fiorentina coach. Sid is in
Hmm.
the house. I believe Sid and you were colleagues as well
Yes, yes.
because
Hey, said what's
he's a
up, man?
he's a big Romanista. So
Yeah,
today,
yeah, I know.
we are on opposite camps today. And since I know you, we've been speaking about this game. This game should happen, and this is the first time Spurs and Roma meeting in a, competitive game. And
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
would have wished that if one of Jose Mourinho or Antonio Conte would have been there, it would have been spicier. But it has become the Jose Mourinho derby, and I'm sure that old Portuguese man will be watching it from Turkey,
Hmm.
with his antennas on, and with his comments reserved for later against Roma and Spurs. So this is what Samuli says. The Conference League Spurs and Roma were the biggest teams, but I think
Yeah, yeah.
the COVID situation happened. There were a lot of players that missed out, and Conte in Europe is just a different man. That man lives
Exactly.
for a league and not the cup. And Ayan is like, yeah, Pedro Porro is starting. He was confused whether why would Porro be benched. But last few questions, guys, before we wrap up. Hoping for a good game, sir. I hope that both teams put on a good display, and may the best team win, as the old adage says. It is Doctor Tottenham Hotspur versus the cursed club Roma. Something
Yeah.
has to give for tonight. But thank you so much for joining in. It's been a pleasure, and let's gear up for the game. And your final thoughts are before we wrap up the stream.
Yeah. So most of the clubs Jose Mourinho left was in tatters, maybe apart from Tottenham and Roma. So that says a lot.
We're,
So
we're
the
still in tatters. We reached to a very tattery level this year, but
yeah, this year
hopefully,
is
yeah, hopefully
he
next year we bring some stability back.
so good. Yeah. So yeah, he does that to every team, right? So he did that for even the Chelsea one when the club was fighting, there were a lot of
Yeah,
internal fights. The players were not happy like that. I think it didn't happen with Tottenham. I'm happy. So yeah, but he didn't win anything. Also, he always says that that's a one team that I didn't win any trophy.
yeah.
So that is there. So maybe the Conference League we will take it back in terms of Europa League.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's a good way to end. Best wishes is first for the Premier League, but not for today. Is what Samun.
Oh,
He's a
Simon, thank
Romanista.
you.
Romanista.
Romanista, don't worry. We'll give you best wishes for the Serie A. Uh,
Right. So thank you so much for joining in, and thanks for everyone who tuned in. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, it's ciao ciao.
thank you. Ciao.